for tuning in. I am Olivia. I will be your narrator today. I am very, very excited and very, very proud of everyone who is part of this production today. They have put a lot of effort. They have put a lot of time. They have put far more creativity than I could have even hoped for into this production of A Christmas Carol for your enjoyment. So everything that you see today, they've come up with the costuming, they've created and built these characters. The only thing that they didn't do was say the lines live. Everything that you will hear today is pre-recorded, and that was a whole thing in and of itself, gathering folks and getting that organized to record all of our lines ahead of time. But we figured with our mics, we figured with not wanting to be passing them around, we figured this would be the best way to bring this production to you. So I am going to step off stage. I'm going to pass the mic over to Katie, and she's going to give you a little bit of background.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming to the Christmas Carol. I'm so excited to have you here joining us. The story of the Christmas Carol was written by our friend Dickens, and Charles Dickens was a famous writer for his day. He was born in 1812, and he was born to low to middle class parents. And his parents decided that they wanted to move out of poverty. So the best way to do it, in their opinion, was to put their son in a home for children. So they basically gave him up for adoption because they wanted to spend full time working and making money. And so poor Charles Dickens grew up in misery in this poorhouse for kids, and there was a lot of poverty, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and children really weren't viewed as sacred or as people of value. So a lot of the poor, especially the children, did not have a voice to advocate for themselves. So out of that hardship, that poverty, that sorrow in Dickens' life, he took his experiences and wrote stories. Now, these aren't his biography stories, but you feel the heart and soul. And that is what Dickens, his life story, did with his writings and helped him become famous. During his time, he would write a chapter and then send it to the publisher. And they would publish it in the newspaper or magazines, and then people would buy it. And when people would buy it, he would make money. So, if you've ever read one of Dickens's works, you'll know they're pretty big. A Tale of Two Cities is a huge book. Same with all the many other works he did. And the reason for that is he had to keep writing to make money. Because it would have to be suspenseful, and you'd have to read each day, and then you'd wait till the next chapter. So back in the day, they didn't have TV, so the writing was like his TV of the day. In fact, this story, The Christmas Carol, and a lot of his works was the equivalent of Downton Abbey in that day. It was so famous and popular, people just loved it. However, Dickens never really truly got out of debt himself. He was always, at the beginning at least, trying to pay off debt. And he didn't really make as much money as we would have thought. But later when he died, he became even more famous. So I know there's a lot of you out there that have a heart for the poor and the needy and those who are unjustly, had misfortunes happen to them. And Dickens was the first social activist fighting for those who needed social justice. And so I think that's a really cool story and message for this time as well. And then Dickens, in the story itself, the one we're doing today is The Christmas Carol, is one of my favorite stories of all at the Christmas times. I like to watch it every Christmas holiday season because it reminds me of the transformation. And I really believe that transformation comes from God in our lives through the power of love. And so I think it's really cool that Dickens, in order to get his character Scrooge, Humbug, to love others, he had to feel love. And at the beginning, he kind of pushed people away that loved him. But in time, he realized that his decisions, his choices did have long-term consequences. So it's a story of redemption, and that's the story of Christmas. So welcome to The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens.
On one Christmas Eve, and long ago, in old London town, adrift with fresh snow, a man looked out upon the hard ground, and all good things made him grumble and frown. Ebenezer Scrooge was his foul name, a greedy old miser, and mean as they came. So this is his tale that we tell you now. Begin it we shall, if you'll allow. That fateful night is when we'll begin with our hateful Scrooge, so filled with sin. When suddenly he heard knock, knock, knock. His nephew appeared, and in he doth walk.
Merry Christmas, Uncle! We would cordially like to invite you to come to join in our festive dinner. You'll come, won't you?
Bah humbug to Christmas Day. What's there to be merry about? Now, nephew Fred, just go away and leave me alone.
So off Fred went with his spirits shook, and as he left, he did turn to look upon a man who was dressed surely poor. Then out Fred went, right through the front door. Meet poor Bob Cratchit, the business clerk, who day by day doth tirelessly work, and Scrooge, his boss, who never caring, was counting his money, and never sharing. Cratchit paused and fixed his old shirt, then mustered courage and brushed off some dirt. And on this cold eve of Christmas Day, he summoned the nerve to turn and say,
Mr. Scrooge, sir, tomorrow's Christmas, and well, I was hoping that I could have the day off to celebrate with my family.
And I suppose you want to be paid for that as well. Bah humbug. Fine, have it your way. You can have the day, but you'll not be paid for it. And you best be there all the earlier the next day to make up for all the time that you're gallivanting about.
Scrooge was quite stingy, as you would know. He hated Christmas and joy and snow. And because he felt oh so greedy, he had no pity for the poor and needy.
To you all, be gone with your infernal singing and that wretched merriment. I'll have none of that muddying up my doorstep. Away with you all. Shh.
Later that night, Scrooge was all alone. He readied tea and a rather dry scone. By himself, bundled up from the chill, he heard an odd noise that sounded shrill. Unearthly moans and rattling chain, an aching voice filled with so much pain. Then he saw an unusual sight and checked his vision with windless light. He thought he saw, no, it can't be, none other than his partner, Old Marley, the man who taught him all that he knew about money and greed and anger too.
Scrooge, I come to warn thee, mend your greedy ways, or you'll end up like me. I've created these shackles from all my years of selfishness and greed. Because of my actions, I will never be free of them. If you don't mend your ways, your chains will be even greater than mine.
Bah, humbug. What you say is nonsense. Besides, I must be seeing things. You can't be here. You've been dead 7 years now.
Do not doubt my words. I implore that you heed my warning. Deep in the night before Christmas Day, you will be visited by 3 spirits. Learn from my mistakes. Learn.
Marley's faint ghost then started to fade and left Scrooge alone, quite afraid. Dismayed as he was, he crept to bed. He drifted to sleep in spite of his dread.
Night lingered on. Scrooge started to sleep, though tossing and turning amidst the sheets. The air then did shift, unknown to him. Change was to come, be it ever so dim. The clock struck 1 in the freezing night. And then mean old Scrooge woke with fright. He blinked tired eyes amidst the gloom. An unearthly spirit appeared in the room.
I am the ghost of Christmas past. Come, Ebenezer. We have much to see before our time is up. Quickly, now, follow me.
Then they went to Christmas of old, when Scrooge was warm-hearted, not sad and cold. They saw Sister Fan and Fezziwig, his boss,
I was happy,
gasped Scrooge.
not lonely and cross.
Then with that they turned, Scrooge and the ghost. Memories thought lost, they shined out the most. Each brought great joy, so much more pain, for things that were lost in pursuit of a gain. Then they did pause on one such a day that caused Scrooge to feel a particular way. His feelings started, and outward they crept, and Scrooge, on this day, openly wept.
I can't bear it. Spirit, please, please take it away.
In the blink of an eye, back in his bed, Scrooge looked all around and then shook his head. He doubted himself. 'Twas not as it seemed,
Bah,
he exclaimed.
'twas only a dream.
At once back to sleep, Scrooge tried to start. Lessons unlearned within his cold heart. Just at that moment, the clock struck 2. And he opened his eyes to gander a view. Nothing he saw, so he turned around, only to jump at what he had found. His sight was met by a spirit so jolly, who chuckled and laughed, filled with great folly.
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Walk with me now to see something pleasant.
Off they ventured into the day. The spirit did chortle, with plenty to say. Scrooge had to wonder where they would go. He pondered what next the spirit would show. Then they did stop in a home oh so small. Scrooge had to laugh at its pitiful walls. And when they peeked in, Scrooge felt rather rash. The owner he saw, Scrooge knew in a flash. 'Twas Bob Cratchit's home, modestly festive. It caused Scrooge a pause and made him pensive. For what he saw did cause him to start. They seemed truly joyful and filled with great heart.
Tell me, Spirit, I know what Cratchit is paid. So how is it that they're so happy when they have so little?
My dear Ebenezer, there's so much more to life than the money that you so cherish. You see this kind family? They find more pure joy in their love for each other than in the material objects that they could possibly gather.
As he pondered the words, Scrooge gave a pause and started to notice those of his flaws. He wanted to leave then and say something sly, but movement he noticed did catch his eye. Off in the corner was a dear little child who had a slight limp and seemed timid and mild. Scrooge watched closely as the family drew near, and then Scrooge did ask of this child so dear.
Tell me, Spirit, who is this small child? And what, may I ask, is wrong with him?
This is the youngest Cratchit child, Tiny Tim. He is not well. He requires a crutch to move around.
Scrooge watched a bit longer, for he was stunned, and heard Tiny Tim say,
God bless us, everyone!
as his family blessed him, smiling with pride, Scrooge thought of a worry that filled him inside.
Yes, Scrooge, Tiny Tim will always be lame, but he is still cheerful despite his great pain.
Not having been asked, the spirit responded, for already she knew that closely they bonded. As he heard the words, Scrooge's heart sank, and once again was a miserable crank.
So, once again, he was in his old room, this time spent awake in the miserable gloom. Slowly he watched as the clock ticked on, thinking of that which soon would be gone. The clock soon struck 3, and he knew his fate. It wasn't too long that he had to wait. In the gathering darkness, a new form took shape, a horrible creature in a hood and a cape. It spoke not a word. The silence was glum. Scrooge stood to face the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Slowly he pointed to darkness so glaring. The spirit led on, cold and uncaring. In the darkest of gloom, Scrooge saw up ahead misery and pain, for Tiny Tim was dead. The spirit then pointed to another gravestone. This one, it seems, was forgotten and alone. Scrooge already knew, without having to look, it was his own grave, and fearfully he shook. He turned to the ghost and started to plead. He knew his undoing was surely his greed. He achingly cried, and deeply he wept. And as he fell down, he began to accept, if he was to be loved and change his fate, he needed to be good, no better, no great.
He gathered himself in the morning light, and ready to plan for his soul to fight. 'Twas then that he realized he was back in his bed, then leapt to the window and called out and said,
Hey there! Hey you! What day is it?
Why? What on earth do you mean? It's Christmas!
Christmas! Christmas Day! Christmas Day!
Are you daft? Of course! It's Christmas Day!
A glorious day! I didn't miss it! It's not too late! Merry Christmas, everyone! Oh, thank the spirits! They did it all in one night! What a blessed day!
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes.
Bless you and bless your music. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas indeed.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge!
He joyfully ran through all of the streets, giving money and presents and all sorts of treats. He seemed childlike to all those he passed, then stopped a poor woman and gaily asked,
Well, excuse me, could you please take this to buy a turkey to bring to the Cratchit family? In fact, here's a gold coin to pay for it, and another for you and your family to brighten your day.
Thanks, sir!
Scrooge continued on through snow and chill, handing out gifts and sharing goodwill. Then he arrived at his nephew's home and asked to join so he wasn't alone.
May I have your attention, please? The fire system is offline. If you have an emergency, please dial 1400. The fire system is offline. If you have an emergency, please dial 1400. Thank you.
And so began a most wonderful day, full of laughter and joy, feasting and play. Scrooge had been taught, as we hoped he would, not to be stingy, but to give and be good. Through Scrooge's story, a lesson is learned. Peace can be found, and joy can be earned. Find love in your heart, and never be done. And finally we say, God bless us, everyone.
tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed our Sark Stage production of The Christmas Carol. I have a bow request from our studio audience actors and actresses. I want them to come up. So I would like the townsfolk to please come forward to take a bow. We have Janice Reich and Karen Kuhn. Give them a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. We would like Fred and Fred's wife to please come take a bow. Where did Fred go? There he is, there he is. Woo-hoo! Chaplain Ken and Cindy Krimmel, give them a round of applause. The carolers, could I please have the carolers come? Oh wait, I'm missing a caroler, hold on. One of many changes for her. Give a round of applause for our carolers. We have Katie Erb, Janice Armstrong, Janice Reich, and Karen Kuhn, and of course Hope Long. Thank you, thank you. Could we please have Jacob Marley come front and center? Things to come, right? Or no? That was your Jacob Marley. Yes, you're the ghost of Jacob Marley. Yes. Meredith, give her a big round of applause. You did what? You did good. You did good. All right. Bob Cratchit and Mrs. Cratchit and Tiny Tim. Come on down. Let's be a family. Karen Kuhn is Mr. Cratchit. Tiny Tim is Katie Erb, and of course Hope Long is Mrs. Cratchit. Thank you. Thank you. The Christmas yet to come. Oh. I like that part of the costume is coming back on. We still know who you are because I'm going to say your name. All right. Chaplain James. Thank you, Chaplain James. I, of course, was Christmas past, so thank you. Hope long. Thank you. Christmas present. Round of applause, Janice Armstrong. Our lovely narrator. Give an applause for Olivia Salavante. And what? Oh, and caroler. Yeah, you jumped in as a caroler too. And of course, Bob. No, hold on. Scrooge. Come on down. Hey! I hope you don't walk like this tomorrow. I hope you recognized him under all that hair, but this is our very own Bob Brinzer! Throwing money like it's nothing. Bob, you and the whole cast did an amazing job. One more big round of applause for everybody! We sure hope you enjoyed tuning in. I want to just give a little note to tell you, I know Olivia and Katie talked in the beginning about our program here today. It was the brainchild. Katie had an idea and she started it and she wanted to see it come to our stage. Olivia jumped on board and edited and added music and you know, padazzle and sound and just scenes and made it rhyme in different ways, and it's just amazing. The team here at St. Anne's is fabulous. We thank them, we thank you, we hope you enjoyed it, and like we all say, God bless us, everyone. Stay tuned for other events. Thanks guys, God bless.